This is How Do You Kill a Monster? I'll put the link to the original story in the description of this video. Ben, what are you doing in there? I glanced at the door briefly where my wife stood on the other side. I'll be just another moment. There was no point in answering her question. She knew what I was doing, and she didn't like it. She wanted me to move on. My eyes slid back down to my phone where they stayed glued to the screen for another 4 minutes. I had scoured the internet for months looking for the rest of the trial, but all I could find was another 6-minute segment televised by a current affair. I'd seen the video so many times, I knew every detail of every second. Because I needed an answer. The camera was currently focused on the jury. They were all leaning forward and concentrating on the testimony of the forensic expert. The camera then slid over to the witness stand where Dr. Fellmore talked about the decomposition of Andrew's body and the state it had been in when a dog walker discovered it the previous May. Fellmore then walked over to the overhead projector, tapped on the stack of slides on the table, straightened them, and then peeled the top one off and placed it on the projector. A graphic photo of Andrew's naked body arrived on the screen and the entire courtroom gasped. A current affair had blurred out the photos, but I remembered what was on them. They were right to be horrified. Hearing an expert drone on in a monotone manner about the graphic abuse of a 5-year-old was much different than seeing its effects firsthand. The doctor explained the slides without emotion, pointing out the countless abrasions, bruises, and open fractures. He spoke about the ultimate manner of death, strangulation, and showed the court the handprints on Andrew's neck matched perfectly with the defendant's. Then he turned the projector off and began to speak about the presumed time of death. The camera pulled back at this point to show my family quietly crying. And then finally it panned over to the defendant's table. The boy beside his lawyer looked downright bored. He flipped a pencil back and forth between his fingers and sighed loudly every few seconds. This was a monster I wanted to kill. He felt the camera was on him, so he suddenly turned and looked straight at the camera and smiled. It was a smug, intelligent smile, as if he wasn't afraid of the consequences, as if, in the end, he believed it had all been worth it. Well, in the end, he was right. The boy had been sentenced to be incarcerated until his majority in another 7 years after that. It was nothing. It was less than nothing. I looked over at the straight razor I begged my wife to get me for my birthday. How do you kill a monster? This was the answer. But could I bring myself to do it? My little brother deserved vengeance, even if it came 16 years later. Andrew had suffered horrors no human should endure. Days of it. I looked back down at the tiny screen and watched the last few seconds of the video. The boy suddenly sat up, rapt attention, as some of the makeshift torture devices he created were brought out and placed upon the table near the jury. My family was escorted from the courtroom, and a current affair had cut off the video there, but it didn't matter. I remember what happened next. The detective held up each one of the devices for the jury to examine, and I rocked back and forth in my seat, giddy at pride with my creations. Valerie knocked again. Ben, are you coming to bed? I was contemplating a much more important question, the only one that mattered. In truth, I knew how to kill a monster. I glanced over at the sharp blade on the counter. That part was easy. The problem was a bit more complex than that. Because how do you kill a monster when it's inside of